So in this slide, we are going to see about the respiratory system in frog. This entire slide summarizes this session. And at the end of the session, you will be able to understand what are the different respiratory processes that are taking place in the frog. So, respiratory system, it helps in the intake of oxygen and removal of carbon dioxide. As you can see in this photograph, the respiration in tadpoles takes place by using the gills. You can see the gills. Whereas in the case of adult frog, it has three modes of respiration. That is, through the skin, it is known as cutaneous respiration. Then buccal respiration, that is through the mouth and lining of pharynx. Third one, pulmonary respiration. It takes place through lungs. First, we'll see cutaneous respiration. As we have already discussed, cutaneous respiration means that it takes place through the skin. And one thing to be noted is that it takes place always. And it is the only respiration that takes place when the frog is underwater or hibernating. That is, when it is undergoing winter sleep. For this, the skin has to be kept moist. And it is highly vascular. That is, the skin surface, it is having blood capillaries. So the exchange of gases takes place due to diffusion. Diffusion is the simple movement of gas against the concentration gradient. That is, you can see in this diagram, that is, blood is low in oxygen in the capillaries now. So the blood is, oxygen is low in the blood in the capillaries now. So oxygen, which is rich in the environment, it diffuses into the blood. And this blood capillaries, it is rich in carbon dioxide. So this carbon dioxide diffuses out. That is the process taking place. Next one, it is a buccal respiration. Buccal respiration, it is simply known as mouth respiration. You must have seen frogs when they are resting on the land, their mouth region, it moves up and down. It means they are performing buccal respiration. And this type of respiration takes place when the frog is on the land. And the gaseous exchange will be taking place between capillaries in the buccal cavity, that is, lining of mouth and throat. For this respiration to happen, the first step is the nostrils has to open. So nostril opens. Once a nostril is opened, what happens? Air enters. Air enters into the mouth or buccal cavity. Now the floor of the mouth is dropped so that air can occupy that space. Now the air is filled in the mouth. Then next what happens? The floor of the mouth rises. Look, it has risen. So nostril is still closed, mouth is still closed. So what happens? The air is retained in the floor of mouth for some time. Exchange of gases takes place and some air, that is around 20% of the air, it is forced into the lungs. Next step, the floor of the mouth drops. So the air from the lungs moves into the floor of the mouth. Now the air, it is rich in carbon dioxide. So it has to go out. Now the nostril opens, floor of the mouth rises, and the air which is rich in carbon dioxide, it moves out. So that is taking place during buccal respiration. And third and most important type of respiration that is taking place is the pulmonary respiration. This type of respiration takes place through lungs. And this occurs when the need of oxygen is more. You can see here the lung of the frog. And now, what are the important organs that are taking place in pulmonary respiration? First one, it is the external nares. It is similar to our nostrils. There's a small opening you can see between eyes and the snout. This is the snout. Second important organ, it is the internal nares. Here you can see the internal nares. It is situated between maxillary. This is the maxillary teeth and the vomerine teeth. And this external nair and the internal nair, it is attached by a small tube-like structure. And here you can see the buccal cavity. Then, of course, lungs. It is thin-walled, soft and spongy, and it is divided by septa into a small sac-like alveoli. And it is highly vascularized or rich in blood vessels. The entry of this lung from the buccal cavity, it is guarded by glottis. It is a valve-like structure that controls airflow into the lungs. So if it is kept closed, no air enters the lungs. So this is about the organs of the pulmonary respiratory system. Now the mechanism of pulmonary respiration. Two processes are involved: inspiration and expiration. Inspiration means to draw air into lungs. So for this process to happen, the glottis, we have discussed about glottis. It is a valve-like structure that guards the opening of the lungs. Glottis is kept closed, mouth is kept closed. Only the external nostril, it is open, and of course the internal nostril also. So the air enters through the nostril, buccal cavity is lowered, air enters into the buccal cavity. Now the buccal cavity is filled with air. So now what happens? Glottis opens. So the air goes into the lungs. Now the lungs, it is filled with air. Buccal cavity is raised, so air goes into the lungs. So that is about inspiration, drawing air into the lungs. Once the lung is filled with air, it has to go out. That is by the process of expiration. Lung, it is full, glottis is kept closed, air is held in the lung for some time for the process of diffusion to take place. So after that, glottis slowly opens. Now the air from the lungs, it moves into the buccal cavity. Now the glottis is closed. So air is inside the buccal cavity, and through the external nostrils, the air is let out. So air which is rich in carbon dioxide, it is rushed to the exterior. So that completes the expiration process and also the pulmonary respiration in frog. Okay. Thank you.